Yes!
It's another Flex Seal video.
So, obviously, we all know Flex Seal. It's our favorite product. It's made by our Lord and Savior, Phil Swift. So, I was on Amazon and I was, just looking around, looking for something to make a video about. And I came across this product, Leak Stopper Rubber Flex. Now, obviously, as you can tell, both of these products look very similar. And I'm not entirely sure which one came first, but it looks like this one is trying to copy Flex Seal. So I'm very curious to see if they're going to perform the same. So I have two simple tests that I want to do. One is just a very basic test. I want to take one of these buckets, and on each side of the bucket, I'm going to drill probably 10, 15, 20 holes, something along those lines on each side of the bucket. And then we'll spray each side, one side with Flex Seal, one side with the other stuff. And we'll fill it up, make sure it holds water. Simple test. Then I'm going to take two of those buckets, I'm going to cut them both in half. And then I want to take each one, the Flex Seal and the liquid rubber flex, and spray it around the middle part of the bucket where it's cut in half. And then let it dry. And then I want to hang it from the ceiling with the crane scale and put water gradually in each bucket, and then see which one can hold the most weight. So let's get started. So first things first, I'm going to be using an 1/8 inch drill bit, and I've decided I'm just going to do 10 holes on either side. Now, before I cut this bucket in half, I know this isn't going to be very safe, but I want everyone to remember, nobody ever had fun being safe. And some other good advice, always bypass the safety. One down. Now see how easy that was? Alright, so for the next step in the process, what I'm going to do is just take both of these buckets. I'm just going to try to line them up the best I can. Right there. That'll work. And I'm just going to use duct tape on the inside to hold them together. This is obviously going to be slightly challenging. Okay, a couple more pieces. Alright, now I'll just do the same thing with the other one. Alright, now we can start spraying them. So, to avoid wasting your time and my time, I'm not going to show you every single coat that I put on these buckets, but just for future reference, I am going to put 5 coats on each bucket with each spray. But I do want to show you something. To me, it looks like the authentic Flex Seal, it looks like it has a lot more rubber in it than the knockoff stuff. See how it starts? See how it like builds up and it starts to slide, and it's real thick. Well, watch what happens with the other stuff. You can see it's running down the board here. And you can see this other stuff doesn't really do that. You have to spray a whole lot for it to do it. And then even then, it still doesn't run like this one does. So either this has more rubber in it, or maybe this stuff, this rubber flex, maybe this has less of the like the solvent in it or something. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting, and I noticed it whenever I was spraying it on the buckets. The Flex Seal seemed like whenever I would spray it, it would build up real fast, and if I sprayed it for a little bit too long, it would kind of start to just run down the edge of the bucket. But it was filling in the holes and the cracks better. And the other stuff, as I would spray it, it just kind of went on like a really thick paint, and it never really ran, but it also wasn't really filling in the holes and the cracks really good, which is why I'm going to do 5 coats of each one. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting. So I'm going to put 5 coats on each one of these buckets, and then I'm going to let them sit and dry for a full 7 days, and then we'll test them. All right, and we're back. It has been a full 7 days that both the Flex Seal and the Rubber Flex have had to dry. Both the buckets that have been cut in half, both of them got 5 even layers, and they both had 7 days to dry. Same thing with the bucket that has the 10 holes drilled on either side of it. Each of these sides has got 5 layers of Flex Seal and 5 layers of Rubber Flex, and they've had 7 days to dry. Now let's start testing. Alright, so here's how this first test is going to work. Obviously we have the bucket here that has the Flex Seal on both sides, and as you saw, there's 10 holes drilled on each side, and then each side, the one with the Rubber Flex and the Flex Seal, each side has 5 even layers, and it's had 7 days to dry. So the first test is just going to be simple. I just want to know if it's going to hold. That's it. This scale is going to let us know how much weight we have worth of water in the bucket. Something that's not really super important, but just kind of interesting. So, I have a bucket full of water here. I'm just going to pour it in. As you can see, we are leaking water on both sides. It looks like we're leaking it way worse on the Flex Seal side though. And it looks like just one, maybe 2 pinholes on the Rubber Flex side. So far it's not looking that good for Flex Seal, and it actually is looking pretty good for Rubber Flex. And actually, the longer this sits here, it looks like the Rubber Flex is actually slowing down compared to the Flex Seal, which has just stayed the same. You can see right here, the Rubber Flex, the not Flex Seal side, you can see that it just has 2, maybe 3 leaks that are pretty continuous, but not too bad. And then when you come over to this side, to the Flex Seal side, you can clearly see one massive leak and one leak that's not so bad, but way worse than the Rubber Flex. So far, the first test, I have to give that one to Rubber Flex because it did do better than Flex Seal. Now, if you remember towards the beginning of the video where I did that demonstration with the cardboard and I showed that the Flex Seal looked like it had more rubber than the Rubber Flex, I think that was going to be a disadvantage in that particular test because the holes were so small. I think there was too much rubber being piled on for it to actually get inside the hole and seal it. So I think that's why the Rubber Flex had such an advantage in that test. But with that being said, since Flex Seal does have more rubber, is what it appears to be, let's move on to our strength test. Now we're going to be doing the Rubber Flex first. And obviously the bucket's been cut in half and been sealed back up with 5 layers of Rubber Flex and left 7 days to dry. So the way this test is going to work is the same thing. I'm just going to pour water into the bucket, And then we have the crane scale that will measure the maximum amount that was pulled on the scale. And then that'll tell us how much weight the bucket held before it ripped away. I got my bucket here. I'm going to try to pour at the same speed for each one. Looking good. Really? Not even 1 pound yet? Alright, we had some technical difficulties with the scale, so I changed some things up, reset the scale, and now I'm just going to fill it up with the water hose rather than the bucket so I can get a constant stream of water. Here we go. And the scale is still not working again. Alright, try number 3. I think I have everything figured out. Let's see. Alright, it's starting to leak. And the scale's still not working. It's definitely starting to leak. Scale still says nothing. Oh. Oh no. Oh. Well, of course the scale isn't working, just ruins pretty much the entire experiment. But if it counts, I guess we'll see how much the Flex Seal holds. Because this one, the Rubber Flex, I saw that it got about 1 inch from the top before it broke. So not very scientific, but I guess that's all we have to work with. Alright, I think I figured out what's wrong with the scale. I think since the weight is being added so gradually, I think that it's automatically zeroing itself out as the weight gets added. Because I noticed off camera that once the weight, if I fill a bucket up and then take the bucket off, it'll say like negative 36 pounds or whatever it is. So then you have to zero the scale back out. So I'm pretty sure that's what's happening, is it's just zeroing itself out. So I guess we'll use the scale on this one, even though it really doesn't matter now because the Rubber Flex didn't have the scale. So now we're going to do Flex Seal, and I guess we'll just go off that measurement that I have, roughly about 1 inch from the top. If this one fails way faster or whatever, then we'll know that the Rubber Flex was stronger. We're getting close to about halfway full. I'm already seeing some leaks. Yep, we got a dribble over here. Well, it's not looking very good. That dribble's starting to get pretty serious. Well, I think it's going to be stronger than the Rubber Flex. Yep, it is coming over the top. So, the Flex Seal is stronger, for sure. It only has two, I don't know if you can see it or not, two little pinhole leaks on the backside. And you saw I filled it up until it was overflowing, and it's still, the other one, the Rubber Flex, had ripped and was starting to pour water out by this point. We got more leaks forming over here. I'm sure it's probably not going to hold this for very long. So the Flex Seal is definitely stronger. Alright. Not that it matters, but 48 pounds. Alright, so after all the spilt water, all the technical difficulties, and all the problems I've had during making this video, we finally have our answer. Can the generic Flex Seal compete with the regular brand Flex Seal? Yes, I say it can compete with it, but it is definitely not better than the original Flex Seal. Yeah, on that one test, the Rubber Flex kind of got into, at least what I think happened is where it was just thinner, it got into the holes a little bit better, but it is definitely not stronger than the original Flex Seal because they both had exactly 5 layers on them, and the Rubber Flex, as you saw in the video, was starting to rip and pour out water before the bottom even fell off the bucket. And with the regular Flex Seal, it held 48 pounds, and the bucket, it was just starting to leak a little bit, and the water was overflowing out of the top, so it could have held way more. It might have been able to hold like a bucket and a half worth of water and still not rip. So the original Flex Seal is definitely the way to go, and most of you guys probably already knew that. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't checked me out on Instagram, go check me out on Instagram at @TheRealTylerTube. You can go over there and check out my shenanigans. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.